In this video, we're going to explore how we can create a clickable stack bar that will respond on a different chart here. And this is quite interesting because with this, you can create a nice dashboard here. And as you can see, as I click on it, you will see that this would change, and you can see here all of these options here that will be nicely. And one is related to the sales, and you can see the other one is related to cost, and it will show different values, different items everywhere. And it's absolutely interesting. So let's start to explore how to do this right now. In this video, we'll answer one of the viewers' questions, which is how to create clickable stacked bars that update another chart in Chart.js. So this is a quite interesting one because we're going to connect two charts together. And the moment you click on one bar, it will show the result on the other bar or on the other chart. So this question came from one of my viewers here on this specific video about creating clickable bar chart with link in Chart.js, which is quite interesting as well as you connect it with a link. Then in here, if you scroll down here, you will see here the question came from Kyle Molyneux. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. But first of all, thank you, Kyle, for asking the question. And secondly, let me read what he's asking here. I would like to know how to make a clickable stacked bar chart with Chart.js that shows monthly data, and when you click on a certain bar, it updates another graph above or below it to show the daily data. Can anyone assist me with this? Alright, so let me show you then what we're going to do here. So basically, we're going to work with two charts in here. So to do this, we're going to get our default template first. So just go to chartjs3.com getting started. And if you scroll down here, you get the default or the basic code that we're going to work with. And if you want to understand what this does, please check out this video here that covers it all. So what I will do is I will just paste all of this, and then once I'm done with that, I'm going to cut this out. I will paste this in here, and then save this and refresh. Alright, so now we have one chart. We need two charts. So we're going to duplicate a chart, and we're going to do some adjustments on it. One of the things that we need to do if you have two charts, because it will not fit on the page, so I need to make it smaller, so at least it will be a bit smaller. So when we have two, it will show nicely. Alright, so what we're going to do here is the following. We're going to duplicate this entire code one more time. And then now, what we'll say here eventually, this will be chart number 2. So we have this set up. I'll just say here, chart number 2. Alright, what we're going to do here is, just for the sake of it, I want to give a different value so it's easier to spot the differences. So we're going to remove these colors. We only have one single color, which will be a dark color by default, and eventually we will make that dynamic based on when we click on a certain item. Alright, so the next thing what we need to do is, because we need to make sure that this is number 2, we cannot have 2 times the same constant. And if we have this number 2, pay attention here, this data here, which is a shorthand, is now converted into a standard structure of data number 2 here. This needs to be updated to a different number here, and this will be matching as well. Why this is like this equal? It is required in Chart.js for some reason. I cannot explain yet why. However, just follow along with this. Next, what we need to do here is this one here. So we're going to have another chart. Of course, we need to have a different ID, so I'll just say my chart number 2. Very straightforward. Once we have this, what we need to do here is this canvas. We just duplicate this, say number 2, and save that. Once we did that, there we are. We have now 2 nice charts. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to work with these charts, and what we want to do basically is creating what we call the data structures. This is an extremely important item, and if you're interested in data structures, at the end of the video I'll show you a link. Highly recommend to study that one. That's really powerful. Alright, so what we're going to do here is the following. We're going to create a bracket, and then we will make a data structure. So we're going to use this. I want to maintain this information here, but what we will do is the following. We're going to say here the x value equals, and then here the x value will equal the label, but in this case I will give the label a string value, which basically are matching with this. So let's say we have these are products, because we can imagine here, if we're going to have a stack bar, we have 2 products or different things. We have the cost and the sales. So I will show you this, but let's give it some products names here. So let's assume 7 different products. We can say IT for the IT department. All right, comma, and then the Y, and the Y is basically the value here. So we grab this specific value and comma, and next here we would have here, if this would be the weekly sales, we later on we're going to make it a stack bar, and then we have another item as well. So we can say here this would be sales, and the sales could be anything that you want. So let's make it very simple. Basically this will be when we click on it, we want to extract this specific data and match that on the other chart. So that's why we have these here. I have these very straightforward numbers, nothing fancy in here. What we're going to do here now, we're going to add up a few more. And what I want to do here, before I do that, I want to say here IT sales. All right, very straightforward, very simple, because we're going to rename these labels here into this category. So then we're going to put in here we need in total 7 items. All right, so we say this is IT, this is food sales, drink sales, fruit sales. I have no idea. I'm just making it up as I go. Tree sales, and then maybe here clothes, and then here finally fabric. All right. So we have these here, different numbers. Let's give these different numbers as well. I'm going to just match them with the numbers that we have here below. Then we have 9, 12, 3, and 9. All right. So for the sake to make sure that we see the differences, I'm going to put in here 0, and then I will put in here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. So we have this as well. So now we have this here. And this here could almost be matched with this. We can just comment this out. The reason why we can comment this out now is because the labels are being recorded here by the X. And here's the reason for that. Check out data structure video. Absolutely check it out. I'll show you at the end of this video. I'll give you the link. Alright, so we have this, and what we want to do now is I want to duplicate this because we need another set or data set to create a stack bar. So comma, I'm going to paste this in here, and this will be the weekly cost. This is going to convert these. Alright, and then this cost, but then small. So we have different items here. So basically the object here that we name it is different compared to that one here. Alright, and then this here, I'll just make this 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, and 9. Alright, so you can understand that this is then easy to spot the difference here. So if you would save this right now, you will see, alright, we have this. It is all together, and then I guess we have one issue here. It is this one here, or I guess we can maybe match them eventually. Basically, I was expecting that these will match together. Well, let's see if I do it in a stack bar. So what we will do here, the following, we're going to create a stack. To do a stack, we need to be here in the scales. And then we say X, and we say here, stacked, true. And then we have here comma, and then we say here another one for the Y value, and then we say stacked, true, comma. If I save this, refresh, alright, it works, but for some reason it just duplicates this one here. Fair enough. Then what we need to do here is some tiny adjustments. So I'm going to just adjust this here. Probably it doesn't allow this one. Alright, I thought it would. And there's a way to do this, which is called parsing. And that's basically the part that should be here. Of course, I realize what's the issue. Sorry. The reason why we have too many different unique ones, so sorry, this is not allowed. We just ignore this now. Alright. Because we have different values in here. One is the cost, but it created extra values. So if I refresh here now, there you are. So this works. The reason why this is unique, it doesn't recognize it. That's why I was just confused about it. So this is not necessary here. Alright, so we have this here now, and what I want to do here, I'll just give it a different color, and the color difference will be basically for the cost, we just make it this solid. So there's no transparency in here. Alright, 1, and then here, 1, and 1. If I save this now, refresh, you see these different colors. This is perfect for us for a demo later on. When we click, we want to make sure that these colors match whatever we selected. Alright, so now we have this. What we're going to do now is to figure out, because basically what we need to figure out is two items. Number one, we need to figure out when we click on a certain item, or this one here, that Chart.js understands which item we select, which bar we select, and more specifically, which data set in that bar. And once we get that, we want to make sure we want to get this data, or whatever the bar matches with, in here, and then we want to change the colors, we want to change this title here, anything, whatever we have that is necessary. Alright, so to do this, we need to do a few items, but even before we do this, I need to do one item here, because if we don't do this, we'll get an error. Very important here. Alright, so what we have here is the following. We see this here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to say constant ctx, then equals the get document by ID. So we're going to put this in here, and then this we're going to play with ctx. And the reason why is we need to extract later on this item without the activation of the configuration. And the reason why is because this will go in here and give us a loop. We don't want this, or basically it will load everything, and we don't want that. We only want to load the canvas that we want to pinpoint. We want to figure out if we click on this exact canvas, then what data we will get. But we don't want to have the entire item loading as well. So this is what you need to do. If you forget this, you have an error. All right. So ctx comma here config. That's it. All right. Now we're done here. It's time for creating the function, and this function here basically is our item here. So we're going to say here our function. We will start to trigger or figure out where are we located, or which bar did we select it or click on. And then we say here the following. And we can just call this a click handler. What's a handler? A handler is a person or something that will handle a specific task. Well, in this case, this click handler will get the task to identify where we clicked on. So we say here click, and then we say here constant, and then we're trying to extract the data points in here. So we say here points equal, and then we say here the chart that we're going to click on, and that is the my chart. And then we're going to get the exact mode, or basically the positioning, or which element did we click on based on our position here. So just think about it like this. Chart.js works with X and Y coordinations. And this is our canvas. That's basically canvas. And when it clicks on certain thing, it can calculate where we click based on the X and Y coordinations, and if they are within a certain element here. This is an element or bar, a shape that has a fixed space or pixel amount in the height and width, and that's basically here the same thing. So we say here get elements, then add event for mode. Alright, so we want to get the element pixel or location based on which event that we want. Well, very simple. It's the click event. And then we say here comma, we're going to get here the nearest, and then comma again, make sure that this is a string. So we want to get the nearest item here. And then what we're going to do is we say here intersect equals true. Alright, so the reason why we do that is because intersect means crossing. Think about an intersection where we cross it. So basically, two tips as well. They are when we hover over a bar, it intersects. So that's basically what will happen here. It's intersecting here because it recognizes it, and then it triggers the tooltip. That's what we do as well, but then in our case, it's a click mode, not a hover mode. And then we say true, alright. So then comma here, and then again true. So once we did that, then what we want to do here is a semicolon. And then in here now we can start to work. So first of all, I want to make sure you understand what we did. So let's click on these points here, and we're going to get the points. So if I do a console log, and what we need to do more is of course trigger the function. To do this, we just say here ctx, and this is the reason why we get the ctx ID that we had separated at here above. This one here, the constant. Alright, so when we click on the chart, so what we say here, onclick equals click handler, and what is this? Well, this is the function. So when we click on this my chart element ID, trigger our function. So once we save this, refresh here. Then if we open up our console log, we are able to see something happening here. We get an array, we get the data, we can see here we get certain values, we get whatever value is matching here, dataset index 1. And you can see here index 0, so that's correct because this is index 0, but this is the second dataset, which is dataset 1. If I click here, you should see dataset 0. There we are, or dataset index 0 and index 1. Alright, so we get here everything. If we click on this, it should be 6, which is correct, this is 6, and number 1. If we, this one is 6 or 0, 6, as you can see here. That one here. Alright, so we've got this here, and this helps us. But if we click here, there's nothing. As you can see, this is very important. So the length is registered only if we click on the bar. Very, very important to understand. Alright, so what we're going to do now is the following. We're going to say here, point.length. We only want to register the ones that does recognize. So if I click here, you can see it's nothing. Alright, and here we click, and that's the one we really want. Alright, so what we're going to do is now the following item. We're going to fix this here. So what we can say here is an if statement. And this is what the if statement does. So if, and then we say here if, we can grab this one, if this equals, so we're going to use the if function here. And basically here, what we really want to do, if there is point length, alright, so then we need to do here a certain item. So we want to do here basically this. So if this would be equals to 1, there should be something here. So what we're going to do is the following here. So we say here, I guess what we can do here is we can copy this, and then we say here console.log, they say points, and here points 0, which is the first item here. And this should be equal, it's equal this, alright? So when we do this, I can console log that one. If I save that, refresh, and now if I click on there, you can see now we're getting the specific values. And this is what I want, and what I want to do now is really to extract what exactly? Well, we need to extract this one here, and we need to extract all these data points as well. So let's go and do this immediately. So what I want to do is the following. Let's look at it. So we have this here, we get this, and what we want to do is this. We will say here my chart tool, because we're going to focus on my chart tool. And here, well, what we need to do, let me remove this first. Let me show you something before I even continue on. If I have this point, you can see here, what do we need to grab? We need to grab this data set. So let me grab this one. So you have a clear understanding what we're doing. If not, I'm going too fast, I notice. All right, and then here you have another one, which would say here the data or the index. And then what we want to do as well, what do we want to extract more? Well, we want to extract the background color and the border color. So to get this, we need to figure out where can we find these locations here. Click on context, all right, and then we can see here, you can see also on the raw here, by the way, context raw, we will get here the cost related item. And when we click on the other one, it would be the sales related item. So we can grab all of these items as well. So what we're going to do here now, first of all, is let's get the background color. Where's the background color here? Border skip, property type. Let me double check this one quickly. On the elements, all right, we have this. And I am somehow extort, just a minute. Alright, I already figured it out, sorry. It's in the elements, and then we have to go to the options. And in the options, we get these two here, and that's exactly what we want. So I'm going to grab this one. And then remember where we get it from background color elements, or element.options.background color. So that's what we need here. So this, let me say element.options, or is it options or option? So element options. Alright, element options background color. Alright, dot. So we're going to copy this, I'll put it in here. I'm going to cut that out, put that in there. The next one is, of course, the border color. And that will be here. That will be the border color. Finally, what we eventually want, but let's check first. So if I click on this, you can see we get colors. Click on that, we get these colors. So this will work nicely. So it already registers everything what is necessary here. All these things. Alright, so what I need now is basically this. I need the points again. And let's go and extract the matching values as well. I'm going to comment these out and get the raw area specifically with all of the data here. So if we go here into elements, I need to search for the context if I'm not mistaken, and then we go here to raw. There we are. You can see here we have here also the X. That's probably a good one as well to get, because that will be the title for this. So we're going to grab this as well. So we say here element.sContext.raw.x. Alright, so element. Let's get that one, element dot as context. And where was this? Dot raw and then dot x. And then eventually we have another one, which of course will be related to our other item, which will be the cost. And we have one, if ever we have, for the sales. Alright, so we get these both. Alright, so now we have this here, and you will see here, you will grab everything. If we click on one is undefined, and the reason why it's undefined is because it doesn't exist. We had here the cost, but this one will show you the sales, but it doesn't have the cost. Alright, so we get everything here nicely. It's a whole chunk of code. Alright, so it's quite confusing maybe, but don't worry, we're almost there. Alright, so what we're going to do now is the following. We're going to say if something happens, we want to change this specific chart here. So we say here on my chart number 2, because that's where we're going to go. And let's grab first, what is the first thing what we would like to change here? Well, let's say we're going to change the border colors, because that's the most easiest one. Because with this, we still need to do something more. So we're going to say here the background color and border color can be changed. To do this, we're going to say here data, my chart. And if you want to understand how we get there, we go from my chart, we go to config. Alright, so we say dot config. And then we say here dot. And then from the config, we go to the data. So we go here to data. And then from data, we are here in the data number 2, which is here. We can say your data sets, and then we say background color. Alright, and data sets is an array. So it's array, but it's the only one array in here. So data sets 0. Remember data sets with an S. Alright, we got this one here, and then we say 0. Next, we have here the, not the data, but the background color. Alright, and then we say the background color equals this item here. And we could maybe say here, const bg equal that. Alright, that would simplify a bit more our code. And then we say here, my chart number 2 dot update. We want to update this, making sure that this all works. So once we have this, and I guess this here can be removed, save that and refresh. So if I click on this, you can see here now it works, and it grabs all the colors here that we need. Beautiful. Next thing is here to continue on is, of course, with another item. What we could do, which is very straightforward, is of course the the border color, and I will say border, let's call it BC. All right, constant BC. If I refresh now, oh, sorry, that is not constant. BC equals that. Alright, so that's the reason, sorry. There you are, everything matches nicely, it changes all, beautiful. Alright, next item here, that will be easy. Now it's starting to become easier, but later on we're going to use this. This is the most important one, but I just do the others first, so we have those done, so we don't have to spend much time on that afterwards. Alright, we have this one here, and the X value here was basically the fruit or whatever was here, and this we want to be changed to here above. So the legend basically, or the label here. To get there, it's just this one here, which is the weekly sales here label. Alright, so we're going to grab this and we can just say here the raw, so we say constant label equals that. Then we just copy all of this, put it in here. We say here label, and then we say here label as well. So this is fine. It's same variable, but it should not have an issue. And if it does, then we need to change it. But you can see here it changes. Beautiful. Next item. All right. What we need to do more is basically the last one. All right. So the last one is the most important one. Is getting the data. But the data that we get will depend on two things. Number one, if it is selected on here or there, and then we need to extract that, but that extraction will not work or will work basically hard code. Well, if you do it hard coded, it's easier, and then after that we can soft code that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just, well, we have this one here. All right, so I'm just going to say here constant sales equal that. All right, so we get this specific value here, and then we say here basically you can copy this. How do we get the data? Let me show you. The data is basically in here. We're in the data, and then we say data here. All right, so instead of label it says data, and then we say here equal sales. So if I refresh now, you can see here we get an issue. Now it works, and our data works here nicely, but the issue is of course this here. This has no value. And I have tried to figure out how to do it, but the only way how I can manage to make it, although I tried all kind of options here, is to do an if statement here. All right, so I'm going to show you the if statement. First of all, I'm going to say here constant, and this would be the cost equal this. All right, so we have all of these here. So let me show you this, and I'm going to grab these two here. This console log can be hidden here. No need anymore. All right, so this is the most important one here. This is basically a data sets and index. All right, so in here, let's look at it. We get these values here already, so we already know here. So all what we need to do here is basically create what I would say a if statement, and the if statement will be based on the data set here. If data set equals 1, show this one, or else show the other one. All right, so I tried any other way. I even tried to do like a static, or basically here with a variable, but for some reason it just doesn't work. What I thought was, well, it would be easier if we just say here constant would be, or an if statement in the constant, and then this would be data type, and then that would be put in here, and you had an if statement like that. It would be very easy to do. It doesn't work like that. Why? I don't know. I need to figure that one out. That's apparently a gap in my knowledge. But anyway, for now, the easiest way to do it is like this. If, and then we just say here this equals 0. In that moment we want to update this, or basically do this. Well, we have the sales here. All right, so that's that one. And else, well, we don't do else. I don't like to use else. The best is just to do another if. Say if this equals that, it should be cost, and maybe we could do it strict. Let's see if strict work. That would be even better. And that's it. All right, so this is our solution for now. Click on that. There you are. There you are. There. And that's it. All right, so now we have everything here. You can see it works beautiful. Everything works nicely. And we have even all of these values here. You can see everything works beautifully. So it's time to wrap this up. And finally, what I want to say, if you want to understand data structures, I have this video here about understanding data structures in Chart.js. Absolutely recommended to study this as well. You can do a lot with this. This is a really powerful trick. And what you saw here is just one of them, but it's just a tiny fraction of it. There's so much more you can do with it. So that's it for now. If you have any questions more, you can always put them in the comment section below.